Okay, so now that we've got the back done, we tighten this area here. Everything looks really good. We're going to come to the front and we're going to follow that same philosophy. So if we look here, let me see if we can see that. Yeah, you can see, so there's a natural curvature here of the chair, and we want to go ahead and make our 45s. So we're making them here at the edge and here at the edge. What I mean by that is I fold this over. I want to tighten this up right here, and I fold that over, and I've got a great 45. I don't have a lot of material. You can see there's hardly any material sticking out here. Now a bad one would look something like this, where you fold it this way. No, instead we want to fold it almost like you do a present. Some people say that, but you really want to have it where when you look at that end product, it looks like that. It's so clean. So we're going to go ahead and put in our first staple, and we get that 45 coming off here. Now it doesn't really matter the angle of how this looks under the chair. We just want to make sure we minimize how much fabric there so it doesn't catch. So if I'm coming down, look, it's just barely touching. It comes right over the top. So we're going to put this in. And then again, our other 45 is right here. Curvature we want to keep. So we're going to fold in and come right over. I don't like that. It's too much to catch here. So we're trying to minimize how much is going to catch if we come around. Now sometimes we're kind of stuck with a minimal amount that we're going to catch. But let's try to minimize that as much as possible. And you see as I'm working that fabric, now I've minimized it. And all I did is I just worked my angle over some. So pull that in. I don't want that bunched up inside of there, so I'm going to try to minimize how much gets bumped in. I want this as flat as possible here. So it's smooth in the front, smooth here. I end up with a very minimal bump right here. I'm going to see if I can minimize that down a little bit more. Looks good right there. Now I've minimized that bump. Put in my staple here. Now this looks really good. I want to put in one more staple. I don't like how many staples are there, and you see what happened? As soon as I hit another staple. So I'm just going to come over here, come back with a pair of pliers, needle nose, and I'll just pop that one out. So let's come to this edge. And again, so if we look at our, oh, there's my other pencil. We look here, we have these two. That's what we're working with. So we're going to fold in. Let's fold in here and just work that edge here. And we're rolling that edge back. Roll back. We roll it back. Looks great. Don't like that I don't have a little bit of material, but again, this is my last two that I'm doing. So it is what it is. Come over here. I want to go with this edge here. This is where my natural edge here. So I need to fold that fabric. This is a hard one. Looks like a little bit of material. But I think we can make it happen. We just fold that over a little bit more. And there we are. We have a very nice looking corner. It rolls very well here. I did end up with some material that's bunching up there. So let's get rid of that material. I want to minimize my bunching here. And to do that, I just work my 45 more. There we go. So now I have just a straight 45, no bunching of the material, and everything looks really good. So let's go ahead and put in our staple, work it out. And then once we get that, we're going to tighten the front up. I don't want any bunching, because that's what happened with that last one. It's the more places it bunches up, and the more places it can snag. So we're going to pull that tight in the middle. Pull this over here. And again, the wood of the chair will eventually take a lot of this out. Put that here. I'm going to pop a couple down here at the bottom, just to give a little extra hold. And see how that bunched up here? Not too bad, but I want to come right here with a bunch and stick that down some. We'll pull that out with a pair of needle nose, and we're looking pretty good. I want to take this down some. So we ended up with a little bit of a bunch back here, and a little bit over here. Again, I'm just making this because I looked out and I couldn't find a good video, so after doing it 8 times, I said, well, I think I got the process down. So just wanted to show we ended up here. Look how smooth that corner is. There's one slight bump here, and it basically follows the curvature. If you just see my finger, I'm right around there. Oop. Same thing back here. We follow the actual, where it's going to sit into that back of that chair back's going to sit in there. That's good. We got a smooth side all the way across, and we're following the curvature here. We got one small one here, one very small one here. These things are not going to king. I'm not crazy about that, but that was because of the lack of material. So we kind of had to work it a little bit more. But it's, if you look at it, it's very minute. Very, very minute. So if it's going to hang, it's probably going to hang here. This one feels good. So this one was just because of that lack of material. So try to keep these down as much as possible. The front is smooth all the way across. If you look at that, there's one wrinkle here. So let's do it again. Maybe we can get this one to come out a little bit better. All right, so this is our very last cushion. So I'm going to lay this down, and as I'm laying it down, see if you guys can see that. You see, this is really what we're looking for, an overlap. But again, I'm at a very small amount of material, so I want my most overlap to be here on the front and the back of the cushion, because that's where the catches happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to maximize that by putting my small overlap on the sides. So if we pull that forward and pull that forward, it looks really good. We're centered. We're going to get our first overlap here. This is our worst case spot right here. So we come in our staple gun, and we're going to pull tight on this side. And as we pull tight on that side, we have to put a lot of material actually to make up. And we're going to put a staple there. Now we want to follow the flow. Now the other chair, what I did is every so often I would do a small fold because I had a lot of material and I could put a lot less staples. So that's a good method. I really think it's a great method. But I can't do it on that one because we're at the very last amount of the material. This is a great way to save material, I guess you could say. And again, I got this material from Hobby Lobby. This isn't some cheap stuff off of eBay or Amazon. This is some really good quality stuff. And Hobby Lobby sells this for this purpose. So we're going to come here. Here's our angles we're working with right here. So we want to make a fold here and here. We're going to make our first fold. Folding in. I don't like that. It's kind of coming out a little too much. But if I fold, instead of making the angle straight like this, if I make it angle up a little bit, look at that. Really nice fold right there. If you look at this side, almost no catch at all. It barely sits out here. And if I work that really good and make it tight, it becomes very smooth. So push that in. Remember, I'm working this natural angle. Here's where I'm at. So let's try to work a fold right at this spot. So I want to lay a straight fold that follows the whole length of that material. Material's looking good. For some reason it doesn't want to work right there. Okay, it looks good. Now it worked all the way. So as it's worked all the way, material looks good. Put in a staple. Go to the other side. So do the same thing. We're going to walk down this cushion. Sorry I had to break up the video. I'm paused right now, just ran out of staples. Okay, looking good. We just reloaded staples, and we're going to come in and we're just going to follow that material so we keep this smooth all the way along the side here. Coming down, then another one here, and probably need to do a first aid video for that one too. This is part of having kids. You learn how to make your own band-aids because you're making them all the time. Alright, so we come down here. Here's our angle we want to work off of. So I want to fold in when I get here, and I want to make sure that follows through. So we're going to tighten that up. I don't like that. That's not where our angle is. So I want to come down here, just keep working that down, and probably the best way to do it is if I angle into the chair, like this. If I come in like this. Let's try that. And look at that. Look how nice that looks right there. That's definitely coming together. What a tight angle. Really nice angle. Almost no catch back here at all. It's not creasing well though. I'm not crazy about that. Let's fix that crease. And look at that. Beautiful. Come in, staple there. Here's our other part here. So we're going to work this. We're just going to work it right down so we get it exactly where we want it at. Look at that, we're already there. Take the staple and we'll flip it around to the other side. Okay, so first let's tighten the back. And hit in the middle. Pull the sides taut. And there. Pull this side taut. There. And so we've got a couple little areas that we could just maybe throw a staple in there just so it won't snag anytime in the future. And we got a nice looking setup here. These closer to the center. Like I said, I'm not crazy about all these staples that were there, but I can't do anything. They were there when I got the chair, and so it is what it is. Here's our angles for this corner, right here. So we're going to go ahead and make the first one, fold in. Let's just check that. I want to make sure I minimize as much as possible any snag that could happen here. Oh, that looks nice. And then we're going to do that on this side. But again, I'm always stapling parallel to the chair so that I'm going to get the most amount of hold we can get. Alright, so let's see. It's going to work with me now. Okay, so I'm using the fabric is going to work with me. Material's coming together now. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that angle here. Very nice. Very little snag, very little opportunity to get pulled by someone's pant leg. Let's just try to minimize that as much as possible. Pull it tight, staple, and there's a little bit of hang here, but that's okay. Just staple that. I'm going to go over here. We have very little material to work with. So let's do our first one. That looks good. And then let's do our second one here. Pull this back, pull it in. And as I'm pulling it in here, really tight. Look at that curvature, looking really good. Let's just make sure we don't have any, get a weird fold there. Pull that tight. The fold is looking okay. I'll make sure I can just get it a little bit better. I think if I work the material a little bit more. And then we'll get the center. We can pull it tight like that as well on the sides. We definitely got the centered up. And then we come on the sides. And we should have a pretty nice looking side right now. I have one more fold, but the fold's sitting on the bottom, so it's okay. Here, I want to check this side. This side's really nice. This side came out nice. Right there and there. And again, I'm trying to staple in this area. This is our best area to staple. Let's go check it out on the chair. Okay, here we are at the chair. So we can see we have our backs here ready to slide in. I'm going to take that and perfect. Comes right in the spot. Exactly how it should be. If we look at the front corners, look how smooth that is. How nice is that? I'm going to get right above it, trying to get the best view possible here with the lighting we have. The sides are very smooth. Not a lot of snags there. Come along the front. Look how smooth that front is. Come along this edge. Now remember, there was a little snag here, so that's probably a concern area. Not much I can do with the little fabric I was using on this one, but if you look at the other chairs I showed, they looked really good. This is just because there was excess for the fabric that covered the cushion. This was some of that excess here. I tried to pull it as tight as I could. This crease already was on this chair, so just how the fabric was. But I think it came out really nice. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the smooth side here. I'm happy with this angle. If we wrap around there with my distressed finger, see there's a little bit here. So that probably one day is going to wear, but this fabric is so thick, it should wear well. So I'm going to flip it over now. Okay, now we've flipped it over. I just want to caution on this point as we put the final product together, and we're pretty much done now. I'm sure it's why you watched the video, was just to see how to put on that plastic. But when you go to screw it back in, you don't have to use the same screw holes that you pull the screws out of. This is a very weak material here. This is like a cardboard. What you're really looking for is that you're matching these angles well, and so that it sits well. If it sits well in your angles after you put in your plastic like I showed, then everything should be good, even if you don't perfectly match those holes, because sometimes, that last chair especially, the holes were worn out too much, even though they were almost a brand new table and set. So what I did is I just made a slight modification, either moved it forward a little bit more, or I moved it back a little bit more, and I made new holes. When I did that, the holes were tight, the screw top was tight. It won't make a difference unless you try to pick up the chair just using the cushion. Let's go ahead and screw it in. All I wanted to show here is that while I'm screwing these in, I'm pulling this forward as much as possible. The reason I'm doing that is I want the back of the chair, those back corners, each one of these back corners, to be pulled in as tight as possible to have a tight fit. So I'm going to pull that. If you can see my hand up here, it's kind of hard to rig the phone. And then as I'm pulling it tight, I come in with my drill and we're going to get it. Now that one's already starting to show it's stripped out, so I'll probably move the chair like I told you. That's okay. All right, so here we are. We've just finished that chair. Looks good. Cushion is secure, smooth on the sides. We run our finger. It follows the curvature in the back, so we have a good alignment there. And again, this was our only area we're concerned about, but because we use that good fabric from Hobby Lobby, it should last quite a while. Looks good. Looks really nice.